want to know about, oops, there's that recording thing. I got it. Hit
Yeah.
continue. Okay. So one thing families often want to know about is the recreation programs. What are we doing? Certainly the last year, our rec staff have worked extremely hard to keep our residents engaged because you know, in the pandemic, with all of the restrictions on visitation that we were enduring and everything else, it really was so important to be present for our residents, and we were able to beef up our staffing with a little extra funding that we got from government. It's temporary; it's not going to be there forever, but we'll take it while we can get it, and try to make sure that we could engage with our residents more. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen first to talk to you about what is going on with regard to recreation and activities at the center, and then I'll take over and share some other information with you.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. So like Lori said, this past year and a half, recreation has looked quite a bit different. So if you've been at Grandview for a little longer than the pandemic, you would have seen quite a switch. And so we really realized how much we truly relied on families and volunteers to help keep your loved ones as emotionally well as they possibly can be. So that's our main priority here. So what we want on a day-to-day basis, I just wanted to let you know everything that we've been doing. For a long time, we really focused on one-on-one for a while because that's what we were only allowed to do with restrictions. And so we really were working on meeting those individual needs. And that's why many of you have gotten a phone call from me to find out more about your loved one. And so we've been doing that, and we continue to do that. But the good news is restrictions are easing up a little bit. It actually feels like a lot, but it is little by little. And because of our vaccines in place here at the center, and it's been so much fun. So we've been able to start gathering a little bit more in groups and start having those group activities. So what that kind of looks like from a day-to-day basis is every single morning. So if you have a loved one who lives on the second floor, we provide what's called a neighborhood time. And one of the things that I was noticing a little while ago was that the mornings, we don't have a lot of staff in the mornings in that big dining room. And we have a lot of residents just sitting there. It used to be filled with family members and volunteers. And so that's where we put the priority to having a neighborhood time in the morning. What that is meeting them where they're at. So if they're wanting to party, we party. If they want downtime, if it's sleepy, maybe we have a spa day, and we come to them with different activities and resources and meeting them where they're at. So that's every single morning for people living on the second floor, or second neighborhood. And then on our first neighborhood, it looks a little different, and they communicate with me with what they want to do. And so we really try to meet their needs there. And that is, they love their exercise, they love their dancing and sit and dance, they love their word games. We have to do our best to socially, we were doing our best to socially distance everyone because everyone wants to come out to word games. And they tell me, people living on our first neighborhood, we do what they tell me to do. They really know what they want for their leisure life. Little bit, moving forward, some brand new things that we are brand new since the pandemic has started. We're allowed to actually have our out trips again. So this has been a really big deal. We've already had 2 rounds. Bob Metcalf is our CapitalCare bus driver. So he comes to us every 3 weeks for 3 days in a row. We get him. So it's actually quite a lot of time. And it's nice because it gives us the opportunity to get everyone we can on that bus. So right now it is drives only. We're not allowed to take anyone off the bus at the moment. That hopefully we'll see things change as we are now. But right now it is drives only, and we have a maximum. This is why it's nice to have him for 3 days in a row with allowing for 2 out trips in a day. Is that we have 3 people who use wheelchairs and 1 person who uses a walker. That's our maximum. And then we'll either have one staff member or a volunteer, and then obviously Bob, our bus driver, on the bus as well. So we have had 12 out trips already, and they've gone really well, minus a couple moments of motion sickness. Some people are getting used to getting back on the bus, I think, but it's been really well received, and the residents are so happy to get back onto the bus and see the city. They're taking tours around the city, stopping for ice cream. They stay on the bus and we bring the ice cream on the bus, and it's just been really, really nice. So we're doing our best to make sure that everyone who wants to get on, and I'll call certain family members too, to make sure that they do get on the bus. Looking ahead, some of the things that we have been doing is our Father's, sorry, I was talking about Father's Day, which is next week, but we started our men's group. That was a huge thing before the pandemic started. And we had our first get together. Hey, Bernadette.
Hey,
Hi.
well, I just posted that photo to Facebook. I thought
Did you?
I'd share my screen of the men's group. So you just keep talking, but
Okay.
that's why you'll see
Bernadette can show your
coming up.
picture.
It's a beautiful photo. I texted that to Bernadette earlier today because one of our residents and one of our therapy assistants, Cassidy, they're engaged. Oh, I love it.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Oh, they're having a good laugh about something.
That entire group, I tell you, I don't know if it was the Tim Hortons I brought, or I don't know what Taras was saying there to Cassidy, but it was good. The group was met with like just laughter the entire time. And ladies, they're not left out. So those of you who've got moms or grandmas here as well, they're not left out. We've been having groups for them as well, starting now. Again, we're getting that back going. But I just loved this depiction. It's just how we all felt about having a bit of normalcy. That's what it felt like. So that's the men's group, and we're actually going to barbecue next week, out weather permitting. If we can get out to the gazebo area, the girls and I will. My girls, I've got 3 therapy assistants right now, and we will be barbecuing for Father's Day. So we're just kind of playing it by ear for weather. And hopefully,
Hey, do you mind if I show these fun photos of
go ahead, yeah.
this party yesterday?
I work with themes. It's called Therapeutic Thematic Arts Programming, and so it's lots of benefits to that. You can Google it. And we work with themes often during the week, where we do our artwork, we have our parties, we do our reminiscing, all based on a theme. So this week was the 50s week, and those ice cream floats are making people pretty happy. So we have an antique car show coming up. It was supposed to be this week, fitted around our theme, but the weather, it was supposed to be today actually, and the weather was not having it. So those kind of group programs obviously have to be outside. So that's hopefully going to happen on Tuesday next week, crossing my fingers. What else? Not much else. We're getting back into the swing of major programming. I've got lots of entertainment booked, outside entertainment booked for the summer. We can have singers come, so we can continue those happy hours in an outside capacity for the summer. Like I just told you, we work on our themes. There's just constant activities going on. But I just wanted to let you all know, I know it's been really hard during this time when you can't come in to our center. And so we've really, wanted to work with each person, your loved one, making sure that they are getting what they need. And that if that's a one-to-one, that still is happening. So we do have our programs, but there's lots of time in the day where we are spreading ourselves out into those rooms and making sure that people are getting all the care and the love that they possibly need, especially right now. It's always been our value, but I know it's hard not to come in. So if you have any questions, open phone policy, I'm calling it now, to our family members. It was an open door before, but you can call me anytime. If you have any concerns, or you feel like your loved one is not feeling or doing as great as they should be mentally or emotionally, please call me.
Hey, Jen, how do people reach you directly?
They can reach me. You can phone the main line at 497-80496-7100. I can leave it in the chat box later. And then my extension is 7111.
Okay. Lori, do you mind if we handle Alexandra's question that came in about patio visits?
Well, I am going to talk about outdoor visits, but I can do that one now. One of the things that our more independent residents really relish is their gardening. And they independently go out to the patio and work. And we have a resident on first floor who has appointed herself our head gardener, and she really is very invested in it. When the visitation was modified by the government and we started having more visits, we were required to identify where we would have visits. We knew our residents really didn't want to have somebody else in their room, and many of our rooms are semi-private, so we have tried to avoid having those. But we also were required to identify visitation areas. We did not identify the garden as a visitation area because of the fact that so many residents access it independently. And we are not able to let residents and people who are not their families interact with each other right now under the orders. So when you come in to visit, unfortunately, it's straight to your loved one and visiting only with your loved one. And it makes it really difficult for people because they see people, they see faces, they want to interact. And so for now, we are not having visitation on the gazebo. As things open up more, we will be constantly revisiting where we have visitation. We have visitation areas downstairs. One of the things that we did do, we have a little sunroom off of the dining room on second floor. And in order to make visitation areas more available downstairs, we opened that up for visitors, but only for second floor, because again, we can't have family members milling through areas that their loved ones don't live in. But we're trying to make it so that we could expand on that. So that's where we're at right now. But stay tuned, because one thing we have learned in this pandemic is nothing is stagnant. It is constant change. And so we're learning to pivot really well. And we'll keep you informed through our newsletters or through the visitation app as well.
Yeah. Does that answer that question about, yeah, you're nodding, Alexandra. We'll get to your other question when we let Lori continue with her presentation. Sorry if I screwed up the order of your presentation, Lori. I just thought that fit nicely.
It's learning to pivot, Bernadette. It's fun.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so maybe I'll start off by talking about this, seeing as we're there now. There was the visitation survey done. Families could respond online. Residents were surveyed as well. And so we were able then to try to figure out a way that weighed everybody's tolerance for risk, along with trying to get more visits in. It's been really hard for our folks and for you as family members. And I can say that because I'm a family member of somebody in supportive living, and I know how hard it's been for me to try to access my loved one as well. As we opened up with these new visits, we identified the outdoor visit areas. Lots of people are booking outdoor visits, and what I want to tell you is, if you go online, there's a couple of outdoor visit areas, but if you phone 496-7108, you can speak to the girls at the front and you can arrange an outdoor visit. If you're not using like the tent or the gazebo, if you want to just take your loved one for a walk, you don't have, we need to know you're coming, because we need to make sure that we have somebody to bring your loved one downstairs, and we need to still do the screening, and we have to manage that because there's only so much resource for screening. But you don't have to book a spot if you want to, say, take a wheelchair and go for a walk around the neighborhood. We have a beautiful neighborhood at Grandview, which we're really lucky with. Unfortunately, as of late, they've decided to rip up 124th Street, and it's a bit of a mess. Hopefully they will get that work done soon, but you can still get wheelchairs out of the parking lot and around the block. And so we are encouraging people to, take their loved ones off the property. You still do have to mask, even if you are pushing a wheelchair, because pushing a wheelchair does not allow you to be more than 6 feet away from them, not unless you've got extra long arms, and most of us don't. So you still do need to wear a mask to walk, to take them for a walk, but you can absolutely take them off the property and get them out for a walk on a beautiful day. I think I would really encourage it. The tent in front of the building is a designated area for designated support person visit, outdoor visits, or for social visits for up to 4 people plus the resident. So again, you can those can be booked online. And then we have the gazebo in the east yard. It's designated for designated support person visits or for social visits of up to 9 people plus the resident, because it's a much larger area. And again, social distancing is required and mask wearing is required if you can't social distance. And so that's where we're at for outdoor visits right now. I have actually had families that just say, I just want to get mom outside, and they take them outside in the wheelchair and just go out onto the lawn somewhere, and that's fine too. Like it to me, it's just about spending time and being with our loved ones and maybe getting some sunshine and fresh air. And however we can do that, I think we should be trying to do that. Within manageable limits for screening. That's always our challenge. We've got 1 screener, and we don't want to overwhelm that or have you waiting too long to be screened. For indoor visits, we have 4 locations for designated support person visits. And we are allowing designated support persons to visit in the room for private rooms because there's no other resident in the room. But for non-private rooms, we ask that people use the designated areas, and they can be booked online as well. We do ask that although residents are allowed to have 4 DSPs, that only 2 come at a time. And again, it's just because of trying to do that social distancing and spacing piece. And also for us to try to manage the traffic in the building at any given time. We have 1 area for indoor social visits, and that can be for up to 4 people plus the resident. And it doesn't have to be a designated support person. So it can be somebody who's a social visit who they maybe have a friend or a relative who is not a designated support person. They can come in for those social visits. And it's identified on the booking app, which is the area for the social visit. So those changes in visitation happened with Order 16. I wanted to just check with you to see how is booking the visits doing on the website, and maybe you can I don't know. Do you want to put the chat box on, Bernadette, so people can give me
just
that?
about to do that. There we go.
Yeah, because we want to.
And also, it's a small group, so just feel free to unmute.
Because we don't have a ton of people.
Yeah.
We really want to know how those booking visits on the website is working, and are you feeling comfortable with indoor visits taking place? Those are my 2 big questions for you tonight. I know you have some for me, but I have some for you as well, because it's important for us to assess whether people are comfortable with what we're doing. We've tried to interpret the feedback.
Do you want to take questions on that now, Lori?
Absolutely.
Sure. Alexandra, go ahead.
Hi, Laurie and Bernadette. Thank you so much for organizing this. I feel like I'm a newer child of a resident. So my mom just moved in a couple months ago. I do find the website very easy to book and the online form very easy to book. The only thing is what I find is that sometimes when you book, you can only book 4 days in, like you can't book 2 days in. If you're booking on Wednesday, I think right now you can't book until Sunday, maybe. Is that correct?
Yeah, because we have at Grandview, we have 127 long-term care residents plus our post-acute people. And so in order to make sure that everybody has opportunity to book visits, initially, if we didn't have that sort of gap, people were booking up all the spots, and then people would say, well, there's nothing left for me. So that's why we've set it up that way. In order to allow people to be able to have time to do that.
Mm-hmm. And I had a question. If you take your mom off site, then can you have a little bit longer time, or do you have to come back within that time period?
Take as long as you want.
Then it's okay.
I'm fine with that. As long as we know you've taken her, like she's not missing, we're good.
That's great.
Yeah, no, because like I say, we're really lucky at Grandview. We have some beautiful, like park-like settings in that neighborhood, and if that means, you know, as long, the big thing is, you know, it becomes, and I have to tell you, there was a time where we were running into trouble with people not observing the requirements for masking and stuff. So it really does become an honor system with that when people are taking people off the property. But at some point we just have to say, like, people just need to do this, and hopefully as we get, as like I'm going to share with you our immunization rates in just a minute, because we're doing really well there, and hopefully that's going to really help support that too.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Now, anyone else want to talk to Lori about how you're feeling about indoor visits? And Lori, I think there was another question you wanted to know.
Well,
people's
how you're
opinions
feeling?
on-
Are you comfortable with indoor visits the way we are doing them? And also, how is booking on the website
right.
working for you?
Does anybody else want to comment on that? I invite you *6 to unmute your mic for the caller on the phone. And the rest of you can unmute your mics if Kathy, it looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I find that it's easy to book the appointment on the website. I did find that issue of, you know, it being a little bit further out, harder to book, because I'd like to book an outside one, but then, you know, you're not really sure of what the weather's going to be. I guess that could be the next day too, but
Yeah, that's the challenge, and that's what we've heard from families, is when we say you book an outside visit and it's subject, and obviously outside visits are subject to the weather, and we can't necessarily move them indoors if the weather's bad. Hopefully the tent and the gazebo help that, but it is a bit challenging that way for sure. I know that.
yeah. I have only had an indoor visit in the den area.
Okay.
That worked fine.
Great. Good. Thank you.
Good. Anybody else before we move on to our next topic?
Okay. Great.
Okay, Lori, go ahead.
So the other order that got changed, and I'm hearing rumor that they're actually going to consolidate some of these orders, and that will be, I will be doing a happy dance when I don't have to keep track of so many MOH orders. But the other order was order 23, and it had to do with some other restrictions that had been placed on us. So tours can now resume for families who need long-term care placement. We're not doing the, prior to the pandemic, we would every Thursday have like a group of 10 people show up and we would tour the building. Obviously the pandemic stopped that from happening, and then we weren't touring anybody because families weren't allowed in, and we were saying, here's our website, here's our virtual tour. Now, if somebody is considering taking a bed at Grandview because their loved one has been matched to the bed, we are able to tour them, which is good news, I think, for families, because it's been hard to just deal with virtual tours. The other thing is, now there are no restrictions on pets, as far as if you have a family pet that you want to have visit with your loved one, they can do that. You must register and provide updated immunization records for your pet before you can come in, and they can only visit with your family, your loved one. But you know, they're real good. If you have a pet and your loved one loves your pet, they're real good therapy for them. So do consider, you can get the information for registering your pet at reception, and just phone ahead and let them know that you want it, so they have it ready for you, because they'll just pull it off the computer for you, and then that way they can visit. The other thing, and Jen kind of alluded to this, is that one of the things that the order changed was that we no longer needed to distance our residents so far from each other, which was really lovely for them, because we were spreading people out all over the place trying to make sure everybody was distanced, and they were actually really good about it, and some of them seem to be quite content with keeping it that way, I think, but we don't have to be quite so vigilant about watching that they're not visiting too close to each other. So those were good news. Little things like we can actually put salt and pepper shakers on the table again. we weren't allowed to do that. It was because you couldn't have things that more than one person was touching. They have to be wiped down after every meal, but we can still do that. So, I see. Do you need to register your pet for outside visits? No, you don't. You can bring your pet for outside visits, no problem. So that was some of the order changes, some of the key things in the order 23. I hear that there's more order changes coming, so please stay tuned, and you'll hear about those in our email newsletters and probably on the CapitalCare website as well. One of the other things that has changed, and for those of you who've been with us for a while, you'll know that anybody who left the center, who went to hospital, went to appointments that were deemed to be somewhat risky, ended up on 14 days isolation when they came back. And now we are no longer required to put people on 14 days isolation if they are fully vaccinated, which means they have had 2 doses of vaccine. So when they are admitted, or if they go to hospital and come back, they are no longer required to quarantine for 14 days. And that is really good news. People are not allowed, and this is general public as well, people are no longer required to quarantine for 14 days if they're determined to be a close contact of somebody with COVID, if they have had both doses of vaccine, unless they develop symptoms. If they develop symptoms, then they are swabbed and they are quarantined for 14 days. So those things have changed a bit too. In people who are partially vaccinated, that's 1 dose of vaccine for at least 2 weeks, would still have to quarantine for 10 days if they were a close contact. But they would have the option to get tested on day 7 or later and be released on quarantine based on their results. So if we had a situation where a resident came to us where they only had 1 dose of vaccine and we found out that they were a close contact with somebody with COVID, we would isolate them and we would ask them if they would like to be tested after 7 days. And if they're negative, then we would be able to remove the quarantine. There are no changes to quarantine for those individuals who are not vaccinated in the case of a close contact. So people who are not vaccinated, if they have a close contact, they are required to quarantine for 14 days. And anybody who starts to develop any COVID-19 symptoms, no matter what their vaccination status is, we do have to follow the isolation requirements and testing. But if they swab negative, then we would revert to what we call our old rules about infection control. So if it's gastrointestinal symptoms, they would just have to be isolated for 48 hours after their symptoms subside. So it's the gaps in the quarantining period are so much shorter, and that is going to be that has been really hard on our residents, and I think it will make such a big difference for them. So I'm really pleased with that. We still are required to swab all new admissions, but we're getting swabs back in 24 to 36 hours in most cases. They're not taking us a long time to go to get back. I wanted to let you know that we're really lucky right now. We have lots of extra hands in the building. Right now we have two groups of Norquest students, 2 groups of 8. And so that allows for lots of extra attention to the residents. We're splitting them, some work evenings, some work days. And so we're thrilled to have them and their instructor, and they will be with us for the rest of the month, I believe. So that is, it's really nice for us to have those extra hands on deck. We have another change for us with these order changes is that we're starting to bring some limited volunteers back to assist. Our beauty salon was closed because of our outbreak for so long, and our residents were so excited to finally get back and get beautified again. We have just this week got a volunteer back who is acting as a porter for the beauty salon, so that allows her to focus on doing people's hair and not portering people back and forth. And we're going to gradually be increasing our volunteer presence in the building as we're able to provide them with additional training related to personal protective equipment. Our volunteers will be screened in the same way as staff and DSPs are screened, and they will be required to adhere to the same PPE standards as staff. And if you've been in the center, you'll notice that while you as family members do not have to wear eye protection anymore, and we are all so envious of you, we are all still wearing eye protection. CapitalCare has made the decision that we are not going to part with eye protection for our staff until we have 85% of our staff fully immunized. Because if they're not wearing eye protection, they can be considered a close contact and get put off work, and that can impact your staffing. We also have a little gift shop that some of you may be aware of that's been closed for a year, right off of the House of Friendship. We're trying to work through the logistics about how we open that. And we've had some discussions about perhaps doing it with a volunteer and literally booking shopping appointments for the residents so they can have one-on-one personal shopping versus having people coming and going, because that front area can get really congested with screening and visitors and people visiting in the House of Friendship and trying to figure out how we work that. So we're having some conversations about how we might be able to do that in a different way now. And so we'll keep you posted if we're able to start doing that. In the meantime, though, if residents want anything from the gift shop, whether it's snacks or anything else, we're certainly able to get them those things. We can get in and get those things for them. So that's not a problem. Grandview has always been very lucky to have a large quantity of volunteers. And what we have found out as the pandemic has gone on is that the pandemic has resulted in many of our older volunteers retiring from service. They have told us that they're not going to be returning. So we're always looking at new volunteers. And if you know anyone who is interested, they must be 16 years or older, and they can apply online to be a volunteer and then be screened. I had promised that I would share our immunization stats with you. Right now, 97% of our residents have at least one, have had both doses, and that's not including post-acute. Post-acute is a revolving door, and we're always working with the zone because we get people in from acute care. They may have had one dose in the community, and then we've got to try to get them their second doses. And even with move-ins in long-term care, we know that this is going to be a moving target. We admitted 2 people this week, and they've both had 1 shot. So now, and so once we get them, but we're arranging for their second shots now. So we're continuing to make sure that we stay on top of that. Our staff numbers, we've had 86% of our staff have at least 1 dose as of today, and 71% have had both doses. So we're a little ways away from that eye protection going away, but they are booking their second doses now that they're able to, and so hopefully we'll get everybody finished up with their second doses. I just wanted to touch base with our menu. The seasonal switchover for the menu happened in April. We're always welcoming feedback from residents and families with regard to the menu, and the menus are posted on the CapitalCare website. You know, as you can imagine, cooking for 166 people, 3 meals a day is a bit challenging to meet everybody's preferences. I always tell people about the saga of the vegetables. Some people think they're too soggy. Other people tell us they can't chew them with their false teeth. So it is challenging for sure. So we're always trying to find a way to make people happy. Brad is our support service supervisor. He is a Red Seal chef, and he has a Red Seal chef in the kitchen as well. He is more than willing to sit down and talk with people if they are having concerns about their menu. And we also have Nina, the dietitian, who's able to sit down and talk with people as well. On first floor there, they can also ask for a comments card. We used to have them out on the table. I think they've been tucked away because Yes, Jen, okay. But you can get a comments card. They just couldn't be out on the table anymore because of all the rules. But they can certainly ask for one and fill that out because we have lots of residents on first floor that are able to speak for themselves about how they feel about the food and what they'd like to. Less so on second floor, but we do have people on second floor too that are certainly able to let us know what they like and don't like. So we try real hard to meet those needs, and so please communicate with us because that's important. Did I answer your question, Alexandra? Because that was around.
Well, yes, that's great to see about the menu, and I don't know why I missed that on the website. So that's wonderful. Just a comment was about that the bread seems to be quite saturated in grease. And I don't know if that's true or if that's interpretation of the bread, but is it really buttered or margarine, or is it
We
just?
cook the toast on the unit. We don't cook it downstairs. So because often, like if you go in the hospital, you get toast that was toasted a half an hour ago and put in a warmer, right? They toast the bread on the unit. So I don't know unless somebody's over buttering it, and all the resident would have to say is don't put butter on it.
And
Yeah.
you could have it non-toasted too, I guess, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
That might be easier to chew with. That's great. That's more my question.
Okay.
Like I look at your variety, you've got a great variety. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Brad works really hard on the menu. He tries to, and he does try to make sure that they have a choice. So if they don't really like the entree, they can at least have a salad and a sandwich and a dessert. And, so he does try to make sure that they've got some options there as well.
Thank you very much.
So hi.
Hi.
So with pureed food, as my mother, that's all she can eat. Is that the same menu or is it like a special order type thing?
They try to go as close to the menu as they can. Some of the menu items don't puree well.
Yeah.
So they try to go as close as possible to the menu. So for instance, if it's chicken today, it would be chicken, whether it would be chicken with the same kind of sauce or seasonings may not be, depending on.
Yeah, just we ordered some pureed meals from Meals on Wheels and you get frozen dinners. So I'm just wondering if it's that or if it's.
Yeah, no, we have a fully functioning kitchen.
Yeah.
So they're able to, so Brad tells me that like he tries to, he always tests it out. Will it puree well? If it won't, then he looks for options because some things just don't puree well.
Great. Okay, well, that's good to know. And is there a designated snack time or is it just if the resident's hungry between meals or?
There, if the dietitian has planned regular snacks for various reasons, maybe somebody's diabetic, that sort of thing, those snacks are sent upstairs. But the fridges on the unit are always stocked with sandwiches and juices, and there's cookies and different things. So they can all be, and there's yogurt. So they can, and I think they even have pureed fruit in that fridge, if I'm calling right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not, yeah, I guess we'll have to find out how mom's communicating that between meals because she has difficulty communicating.
Well, and you can certainly, well, the other thing would be to talk with Nina and see if she can plan snacks for your mom.
Sorry, Nina?
Nina's our
Okay.
dietitian. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
And I just had a question about the tours.
Yeah, Joanne put a question in the chat box.
Oh, sorry, you didn't see that.
Maybe we can answer that at the same time.
Okay, let's see what it says.
She wants to know if a family member can now have a tour since they moved in April 17th and never got one.
Oh, sure. Like, I mean, you're allowed, is the family member a designated support person, Joanne?
Yeah.
Or yeah, absolutely. Just, and is your mom on second floor?
Yes.
Okay, so it would just be a matter of connecting with Virginia.
Oh,
and
okay.
asking her to do that. Yeah,
Okay, sure. I'll let them know. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Any other questions before we move off food?
Well, sorry, I just going back a bit. Have you been sending out email updates? Because I haven't got like an email newsletter or anything yet.
Yes, weekly. That
Yeah.
or almost
No.
weekly. Right? No,
And wait, a little clarification there.
sorry, Jer.
emails corporately
Yeah.
weekly.
Yes.
But we are not able to send center updates weekly at this time.
Oh, I haven't gotten either, so I'll have to just confirm that I'm the, well,
You know, go on.
contact properly.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
You can sign up for the email updates on the website.
Oh, okay.
you can sign up on the website, or Joanne, just fire me off an email at info@capitalcare.net, and we'll get you and your family and everybody signed up.
Okay, yeah, we just thought we had done that, and I thought because of the pandemic, you were just doing the online web page updates, which are great, but
No, we do.
Okay.
We've been doing a corporate update every week,
okay.
like for all centers.
Mhm.
And then Grandview actually has had a few site-specific updates.
Because we were on outbreak,
Has
we were
moved
doing,
in, yeah.
yeah, because we were on outbreak, we were doing site-specific updates. So
Mm. Okay,
So I will check with my colleague tomorrow to see if your name is on the list. But just send me a follow-up email at info@capitalcare.net.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
any other questions?
I guess my other one was, do you have a recreation calendar or drop the ball? Like, do you post that or is it emailed to somebody?
Oh, that's a really good question, Joanne. So yeah, to answer that, we used to have a recreation
Yeah.
calendar. And when the pandemic hit, for the first 6 months, honestly, there's not a lot of time to be putting that together. And so actually AHS does not require currently a recreation calendar. So we are not putting those out right now. That isn't to say those will stop fully. They might start coming again, but we are now posting up on the neighborhoods the activities for the residents to see, and it actually has been going really well with recreation calendars. We're kind of enjoying it. We've actually been getting good feedback from the residents saying that, you know, they feel like they're in control of their leisure life, because it's not, you know, booked right on the calendar. They can say, you know what, we don't want to sit and dance today, we just want to play some trivia. And that's kind of how we've been operating it. It's based on whatever they want to do. And then we do have those, we have a working calendar behind the scenes for those big bookings, like the entertainment in the summer, antique car show, like I was telling you about, for those bigger events. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, you bet. And sorry, one more. So, so we schedule quite a few visits, whether Zoom or in person. Well, I guess I should go back. Okay, on an out trip, everybody's asked if they want to go. Like, you can pretty much just communicate with my mom with a whiteboard.
So if what I do with the out trips is that we go down the list and we make sure that we try to get everyone possible to get on. If we can communicate, and yes, we would communicate whether it's through whiteboard or talking quietly, loudly, however the communication works best for the resident. And then for many of the residents, you know, we would call the family member as well, just to let them know in case there's any concerns that they might have with them going out. So she hasn't gone out yet. We will be adding her to the list. You know, Bob will be back in about 3 more weeks. So we're just doing our best to.
Yeah, no, I don't know if she has, probably not.
I think I know who your mom is, and I don't think yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking I know when with the
Right.
word comment. But you know, it's something I'd love to try with her, and it's something I'd love to try with everyone. So I'll be in contact with family.
Okay. And I guess with that, so if she does say she's going on a trip and then we schedule a visit or a Zoom at the same time, you would let us know.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to look at the schedule. That's why it's really good that we have that advanced booking, because then I can plan a little bit, check out the schedule. And if I happen to see if it was a last minute, you called the screener that day and we could fit you in, then I'll let you know, hey, mom's on an out trip. What would you like to do? And we can work around it. I can get her on the bus tomorrow, or you can rebook. So we'll work with you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And would you mind just typing into the chat box your phone number with the extension again for these folks if they want to contact you. And Lori, did you have anything else in your presentation?
I just wanted to touch base about the foundation because they're doing such good work. So CapitalCare is very fortunate. We have a foundation. It is a separate entity from CapitalCare, and they raise money for betterments for our centers that are not funded by healthcare dollars. For those of you who've seen our second floor, who've been up to our second floor, we
I'm
have
just going to
done
share my screen again here.
some really major renovations pre-pandemic on second floor to make the hallways look so much more inviting and more like a street. We have been able to, despite the pandemic, do some work on our first floor as well. We found ourselves, like old buildings don't stop falling apart just because there's a pandemic. So we were having some problems with our ceiling on first floor. So we were able to, when we were not on outbreak, we had to plan all these things very carefully and really work carefully with our with the contractors and be able to hoard off all of the areas for work. But we were able to on first floor replace the ceiling this over the course of the spring, and that it's hard to see there, but you can the ceiling looks like clouds. It looks like the sky, and it's lovely. And so, and we've also, you can see where they've got the cornices over top of the doors. Those we were able to order those, and our maintenance men were able to install those. So that much is done. We do have door covers that have been ordered for the doors. They are not here yet. And so when it is safe to do, when they are here and when it is safe to do so, we will have those installed. And I don't know, Bernadette, did you have a picture of those? I don't know.
I wasn't able to find one.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I'll keep looking while you talk.
They look like panels. So they're quite lovely, and they're different colors. They're purple and red and green and gold and blue. Purple, red, green, gold, blue. Yeah, 5 colors. And they are really quite lovely, and they made a huge difference on second floor. So the foundation has supported those efforts, because those kinds of renovations are actually quite expensive, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the help of the foundation, because the dollars don't, like I say, we can't use healthcare dollars to do those sorts of things. Healthcare dollars are for the practical stuff, but not for the fluffy things that make it more like homes. So we are continuing to welcome donations so that we're able to do the hallway renovation on 2CD, because it's the last hallway renovation to do in long-term care. And we'd really like to get that done down the way as well. But we just want to make sure that people are aware that we have a foundation, because it is so important. I see your comment here, Kathy, about the Wi-Fi, and the foundation's also doing work about the Wi-Fi. It is such a challenge in our building because it is a concrete building that is brick and concrete and half in the ground because we're built into a hill. My office, I cannot answer my cell phone in my office. I can't get reception. I have to hurry up and throw my mask on and run out the door. It's kind of crazy. So we're really, the foundation has been doing some work on that, and that is something they're going to continue to do. I know in the spring they had a large 50-50 draw, and the proceeds were from that were going to the centers to help us do the work on Wi-Fi, and they're continuing to try to raise money so that we can try to resolve the Wi-Fi issues, because they are challenging and they are expensive to deal with.
Okay, well, I didn't expect to go this long.
I didn't either.
We advertised this as a half-hour meeting.
Good question.
Clearly, we've missed each other a lot because we had so much to talk about.
Well, I know I met some new people. I haven't talked to some of these folks before, so this is good.
Yeah, this is really great. I hope you're enjoying these Zoom meetings. I know we are. It gives us a chance to present all the up and coming information and answer your questions all in one place. I will post the recording with your permission on the Grandview website. So please do check the Grandview website regularly. I think the new menus are posted on the website, but we don't have the recreation calendars posted yet. Normally we do, as Jen mentioned. We stopped posting them during the COVID pandemic, but hopefully that'll be coming again. So there's lots of great information on the Grandview webpage. As I say, we're not able to get a center-specific newsletter out every week, but this is why we, try to augment with these Zoom meetings every once in a while, so that we can present upcoming information, so that you know what's going on for a while. But anytime you have any questions, feel free to email me at info@capitalcare.net. Feel free to phone Jen, feel free to phone Lori. You don't have to.
And if you have questions about your loved one specifically, phone the care manager. Like Raymond is the care manager on 1AB. Virginia is the care manager on 2nd floor. They're happy to take your calls and answer your questions and work with you if you've got anything that you need us to work with you about. So yeah, please don't hesitate.
That's great. And lots of thank yous coming in now, Lori. Sandy wanted to let you know, very good to hear about the vaccine rates. So yeah, that's great. And Brenda is also saying good info. Thank you. I think we had a couple of other thank yous. Anybody else want to unmute their mic? We got 3 minutes before we get booted out of the call here. Sometimes I'm happy for a small group. We get a chance to really get into the nitty gritty of the questions, hey? And Alexandra, I know Lori will follow up on your other two specific questions related to your particular family member.
I'll talk to Raymond about it and then he can get back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for hosting this. This was really great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear whether people think it's of value, because I don't mind doing it at all. And I think that if this is as value, I see this as one of those pandemic silver linings. It might just continue ongoing because it seems to be a really good way to connect with families.
Yeah. I agree. I think we might be back in the fall. We'll take a break for the summer, but we'll be back in the fall with hopefully a lot more restrictions eased by then and lots more back to normal activities for Jen to report on. So with that, I will bid you farewell until the fall and wish everybody a happy Father's Day if you've got a Father's Day in care, or if you've got a father in care. And please keep an eye on our Facebook page. That's where all the great photos of Jen's recreation activities will be posted. So it's CapitalCare Edmonton is our Facebook channel, and you can get to it from our website as well. So any last words, Lori, Jen?
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure talking with all of you, and please don't ever hesitate to ask questions. We'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bernadette.
Yeah, you bet. Just going to end the recording.